Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the state of the car market and whether or not it is actually crashing, because every single finance YouTuber and car YouTuber seems to want everyone to think that the car market is crashing, or at least that's what all their thumbnails and titles say. But anyways, as always, before we get into the video, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. I need to quickly go over the last couple of years to fully explain if we are going to see a collapse of the car market. So first off, everyone knows that 2020 was the year of the pandemic where the car market slowed down a massive amount. Nobody was really buying anything, at least at the beginning of the year. Things did start to ramp up towards the end of the year, and then that led into 2021, which was like the party year where there was a ton of stimulus. People were buying cars left and right, paying obscene amounts of money for just about everything. And then 2022 has rolled around and everything has slowed down quite a bit. Car values are dropping. People just aren't buying as much as they used to, and everyone's kind of freaked out at this point because everyone's just concerned about the general state of the economy. And the best analogy that I can put forth for this situation is 2020 is like the end of high school, where you don't want to be there anymore and it feels like the world's ending. And then 2021 rolled around, which is like the graduation party after high school, and you have an absolute blast. And even though it's technically not legal here in the US, maybe it's the first time that you drink, and maybe you drink way too much because, well, perhaps you haven't drank ever before in your life, and you just get completely hammered. And then you wake up the next day, aka 2022, with a horrible hangover and the realization that you now have to spend the next 4 to 10 years of your life and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on a college education so you can get a big purse or an adult job, basically. And so again, that's probably not the best analogy, but that's the only analogy I could come up with to explain the situation with the car market. And so now we can talk about what is happening today. The general trend with the car market is actually very mixed. Again, you've got like the flashy headlines that'll say that the car market is collapsing, but here's the deal. The car market is absolutely enormous. And so because of the sheer size, yes, you can pull out general trends, but there's also a lot of categories within the car market that are going to be going against these general trends. And so we're going to split things up into new and used. And then once we dive more into the new side of things, we're going to split things up even more. So yeah, we're going to do a lot of splitting up in today's video. Anyways, starting with used cars, the general trend for used cars is they are declining. They aren't collapsing, they're declining. And I've talked about this in several videos where I've said that the car market is not going to have like a sharp decline. It's just going to have this slow decline over a very long period of time. So you're going to be able to see what's happening like in slow motion, basically. So this will give you more than enough time to act. If you have a car that you're planning on getting rid of and you see the values are declining, then it's not going to be like, oh, your vehicle is worth, $50,000 today and now it's worth $20,000. It's going to be like, well, it's worth $50,000 today, and then the next week maybe it's worth like $49,700 or whatever, just some random number. You guys get the point. Like, again, the values are declining, but it's at a very slow rate that you can see in real time that gives you time to act. And so my recommendations, if you are going to be looking at purchasing a used car, is first off, look at how much that car is going for new, because there is a little bit more availability with new cars in today's market. And so chances are you can probably find a new one for a pretty similar price as what the used one is going for, because used cars values are still slightly overinflated. And so first, do that check. Just do your due diligence so that you don't overpay for a used car. Now, the next thing is, if that price is in line, call new car dealerships that sell that car and figure out what the demand is on that car. So if you call a dealership and they say, yeah, we can get you one and you can get it within, a few months, then that says that demand's probably not super high, or the manufacturer is able to produce that car at a high enough rate that the prices on that car are not going to hold at the current state. But if you call and the dealer's like, yeah, you got to wait a year, then okay, probably demand is still really high on that car and the resale value is going to stick for a little bit longer. So you're not going to see the floor fall out from underneath you, most likely. Again, you gotta do your research. And that's kind of generally what's happening, again, with the used car market. And what I would recommend is just do your research with that side of things. And the biggest thing is just check what the new ones are going for before you purchase a used car, because it shocks me how many people will just go in and buy a used car without checking what the new ones are going for, because they just automatically assume they can't afford the new one. And it's like, well, actually, you could have bought the new one for less money than what you just paid for that used one. It's craziness. Anyways, diving into new cars, it is actually pretty dang mixed. And it really just depends on manufacturer to manufacturer. Some manufacturers have been able to manage the whole supply chain issue thing a little bit better than others. One that I've talked about consistently is Stellantis. It seems like they are able to just build vehicles like crazy despite everything that's been happening. And it's crazy. Like, you go on to Dodge, Ram, Jeep, Chrysler dealership lots, and they have tons of vehicles in inventory. One of the stores that I filmed for, the Dodge, Ram, Jeep, Chrysler, and Sandy, literally has like a full lot, at least in front of their buildings. Now, their secondary lot used to be full prior to the pandemic, so that obviously still hasn't filled up yet, but it's actually starting to fill up with some vehicles. And so with that manufacturer, it actually makes quite a bit of sense to purchase a new vehicle right now, because you can get it at a good price and you can get it at a pretty quick rate as well. But what that means is, for used vehicles associated with that brand, they are actually still commanding pretty decent prices, but they are falling faster than what you see with other manufacturers. And so you definitely need to take that into account. Another example of it, well, actually of the opposite, right, is Land Rover. So with the new Defender, they have wait lists for like a year at most Land Rover dealerships. And so that vehicle is still going for significant amounts over MSRP, new and used, with most dealers. And so what that means is that the resale value for the foreseeable future is going to be pretty strong. And so you guys can see two different manufacturers and two completely different things are happening. And most of Land Rover's product, frankly, is still commanding really high prices, and you have really long wait times. And so you really have to just research into the specific manufacturer that you're planning on purchasing from, instead of just looking at the general trends of the car market. Like, if you read an article that says the car market's collapsing, and then go, oh, well, I better not buy a car right now, and I better, whatever. It's like, okay, wait a second, take a step back, and then go, okay, this is the manufacturer I was planning on purchasing from. Let's see what's happening with that specific manufacturer. And this actually just applies to any market in general. Like, you always want to look at what's happening with the specific manufacturer that you are planning on purchasing from. One last point that I want to make before capping off this video that I think will really show you guys the crazy state of the car market is the fact that some dealers are potentially going to go out of business because they are not able to make enough money to stay afloat. And what has caused some dealers to get put in this position is they basically have manufacturers that still can't ramp up production enough to keep up with demand, which sounds good on the surface, but that means that they just aren't selling any new cars. And then, like I talked about earlier in the video, they are struggling to sell used cars now because, again, used car values have slightly dipped, because demand has slightly dipped, because there are some manufacturers that are actually able to somewhat keep up with demand. And so what I've been seeing over the last few months is a lot of people are brand hopping. Like, there are some people that would only buy from a certain brand, but now they're buying from another brand just because that brand actually can sell them a car. And so it'll be a pretty interesting situation, but it shows just how crazy the car market is right now, and how there's like literally no uniformity whatsoever. So the biggest takeaway from this video is understand that yes, there are general trends, but you need to do your research with the specific manufacturer that you're planning on purchasing from, because those general trends are super generalized right now, and they definitely don't apply to every single manufacturer. And I hope that the examples I gave through this video kind of illustrated what's happening. And it's so weird. Like, again, with what I do for a living, going and constantly filming all these cars all day, it's so weird to go from one dealership and like see it's full of inventory and have like, there's like a million cars for me to film, and then go to another dealership in the same day, right, in the same exact like market, everything, and then that car lot is completely empty and there's no customers, and it's like, what is happening? It's crazy. But then when I talk to the different dealers, it makes sense. It's like the one dealer is able to get new cars because their manufacturer has started to ramp up production, and then the other dealer is not getting any new cars, and then their used cars aren't really selling anymore because, again, the market's dipping. So it's just crazy situation. So the biggest thing right now is do your research. I'll see you guys.